Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The will he or won't he saga of Derek Carr continues. I'll remind you that last week, after Derek Carr was injured in the game against the Giants, Darren Rizzy was asked, because remember, there was initial report that Derek Carr was likely going to be done for the season, and Darren Rizzy disputed it.
You know, I've already seen some reports out there a little bit false. So right now, obviously, like I said yesterday, Derek's dealing with a non-throwing hand injury. As it stands at this moment, I don't believe it's going to be an IR situation. I think it's going to be a week-to-week situation. So we're going to kind of take this day by day this week. We'll see how this week plays out. He is in the concussion protocol also, so he's got to complete the first step of that tomorrow. So it is a double aspect in terms of the injury. You're dealing with both. So we got to obviously see what happens there.
All right. They weren't ruling him out for this past week's game. Said it wasn't going to be season ending, but they weren't even ruling him out. Okay, so ultimately, he didn't practice, didn't play this weekend in the home loss to Washington. Well, Monday, Darren Rizzy is asked for an update on Derek Carr and opines that we haven't seen the last of Derek Carr this year.
At this point, I would say he would get a chance to play at some point before the season's over. I don't think that's a reach. At the same time, you know, his you know, like any injury, it's improving. He's just not there quite yet. Okay, not me saying it, not you saying it, not anonymous sources saying it. It's the head football coach of the New Orleans Saints saying, "Think we're going to see him again this year." But we'll see. Got to improve, but said, "Think we're going to see him again." Now, when I heard Darren Rizzy say that, my assumption was he ain't going to play on Monday Night Football. Like, they're not going to rush him back to go play in a cold weather game on the road against one of the hottest teams in the NFC. I don't think that's mindful. What's more likely is you get him an extra week, then he plays against his former team, the Raiders, right? That would be the target, the goal, always. Well, Tuesday morning, Ian Rapaport puts out this tweet citing sources. Although his sources tend to be pretty good. That's why he's who he is. As a random aside, Ian Rapaport used to write for AL.com. Used to have him on The Fastest Hour, me and Josh Innes back in the day. Now he never returns a call. Jonathan Givony's another one. Remember that? You know that guy for ESPN, the NBA draft guy, Jonathan Givony?
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
He was a draft express. We used to have him back in 07, 08, had Jonathan Givony. Nobody knew who Jonathan Givony was. Now, won't return a text. Big league. Anyway. Ian Rapaport, our good buddy, formerly of AL.com. Saints quarterback Derek Carr underwent further examination recently. He's at least a few weeks away from being able to withstand contact. With 3 weeks remaining, a return this season is described as very unlikely. Rapaport also notes that Carr has a left hand fractured in 2 places. So, again, if you're a few weeks away from even being able to withstand contact, the question is, why would you even, in theory, the only opportunity for him to return would be Week 18 on the road against Tampa. Now, this isn't going to surprise you a lick, what I'm about to tell you, but it is my opinion that you should shut Derek Carr down, move him to IR, free up the roster spot to make your team better somewhere else, and let Spencer Rattler cook for the next 3 weeks. And with the full understanding that Spencer Rattler over the next 3 weeks could stink. He could be downright atrocious. It could look as bad as it did when you scored 8 points against the Chargers, or when you scored, 11 against the Broncos, whatever that final score was. 33-10 was the final. 26-8 against the Chargers. I get it. It could be that bad, but I'm okay with it because I'm okay with a micro loss for a macro gain. I'm okay taking 2 baby steps backwards for the possibility of taking a giant leap forward. Because right now, here's what I know about the New Orleans Saints. You are already more than $60 million over the cap for next year. Remember, I'm not even talking about this year anymore. I don't care. I don't care. Like, we all know what this team is. They're going to finish sub 500. They're not going to the playoffs. It's now about playing out these final 3 games to evaluate your roster, to see what you have for projectability for next year and potentially beyond. And there is no more important position than figuring out what you have at quarterback. Spencer Rattler has now started 3 games. He's 0-3 as the starter, and he came in relief of Jake Haener in the second half and looked pretty good. Now, I'll remind you that Spencer Rattler at times looked very bad. We saw Jake Haener come off the bench in that game against the Chargers and throw his first career touchdown pass. So there are, it was the Broncos game when he threw the touchdown pass to Cedric Wilson. But the point being, I'm not overreacting to what I saw from Spencer Rattler in the second half of the game this past week in the loss to the Commanders. He did lead 4 scoring drives. He also completed less than 50% of his passes. But what I know is you have a gigantic financial albatross hanging around your neck in the person of Derek Carr for next year. He is going to cost $50 million against your salary cap. Derek Carr, we've been over it enough. I don't need to say anything more about it. But it is time to start formulating a plan for life after Derek Carr, because I think everyone at this point is understanding what Derek Carr is and what he isn't. And if you're not there yet, shame on you, because I told you the day he signed. You've got an 11-year sample size. You know what he is. So what you have to figure out is if Spencer Rattler can be a franchise quarterback. Because if he can, awesome. After this season, you've got 3 more years of Spencer Rattler on a rookie contract. Can he be your starter next year? Because I can stomach, as bad as it is, the Carr contract if I've got a rookie 5th round pick or a 5th round pick, a starting quarterback on a rookie deal as a 5th round pick. That helps me reset my roster, because I'm not paying exorbitant amounts of money for my starter. Now, you're going to have to get there eventually if you got to pay him a second contract. But you need to find out if he's worth it. And the only way to find out truly if he's worth it is to let him start games. Grow that sample size to see. He wasn't great in those first 3 games. Did he look better in the second half? Look more comfortable? Yeah, because he's been out there. And for every bit of experience he gets, you're going to learn more, and maybe he gets more comfortable, maybe he gets better. So let's use these next 3 games to say, okay, Spence, what you got? Let's see if you've improved from the 3 starts earlier in the year. And if he has, awesome. Then you can go into next year with a legitimate competition to say, hey, Derek, mind your P's and Q's, because if you don't, we got the kid ready to take your job. Kind of like what's happening right now in Atlanta, where they guaranteed Kirk Cousins 9 figures. He stinks. Literally on the worst stretch of his career and the worst stretch of a quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger back in 2005. And now they're about to turn it over potentially to Michael Penix. The Saints could be in a similar situation, but you got to find out. I am all about using these next 3 games to find out what you have in Spencer Rattler. Yes, I want to see about Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid. I want to see if we really, truly believe Trevor Penning is capable of being a starting right tackle. His Pro Football Focus grade this past week was absolutely atrocious. He was in the 40s, brought up the rear for the entire team. I mean, there's things that you still got to learn. And you can do that over these next 3 weeks. But there's nothing more important than finding out what you have in Spencer Rattler. Hurrying Derek Carr back from a broken hand for what? To play out the string in a losing season? Hell, I hope they do lose the next 3 games. Just keep slipping further, fall back, backslide into the highest draft pick you can, but in so doing, find out what you have in Spencer Rattler. And if what you find is you have a guy you think is capable of being a starter, awesome. And if not, then that tells you what you have to do going into this offseason again, which is draft a quarterback. Because there's nothing more important for this organization right now than figuring out an answer at quarterback. We know it's not Derek Carr. It ain't Jake Haener. It could be Spencer Rattler. Use the next 3 games to find out if you have something definitive there. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.